Good morning. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's morning call. It is Hump Day, Wednesday. Been an interesting week so far. I guess the bulls have been trying to make somewhat of a stand short term because the oversold conditions are pretty rampant everywhere. You're starting to see some of these bounces, in areas overseas. Just a quick look overseas, you did see that the Shanghai was down 2.7%. But it seems like right now the market doesn't care because I guess that 2,800 level, which is the threshold from the summer, is where the market might care, because elsewhere in Asia you have the Nikkei had its first up day, the HK had its first up day, and in Europe, it's on its second day with the DAX up like 1%, making it about 3% off the lows. So basically that's what we're trying to figure out here. What type of oversold bounce do we have? Which resistance can it get to? And can you play it long until you need to flip and sell the rally, which has been the new narrative now, where you have to be very, very careful, buying the dip, and you have to figure out how long you could hold it, and perhaps where you could, reshort it with a little fear of getting run over. And that hasn't happened yet. This is now our fourth cap up in the past 4 sessions, and each one has been sold before finding some support. So anyway, if you look at the chart of the SPX, you will see this is why people are kind of worried, right? If you look here, look at the 200-day moving average, okay? The market was above it all the way back from like almost 2012 with one quick pierce here, okay? And then obviously this was, in the summertime when we actually broke it and had that little flash crash. So here was your flash crash, here was your double bottom, and then came back up and couldn't get it back up above the prior highs. So here we are again below the 200-day, but not a quick V-type move like you saw back here, but market's trying to figure out what's next. And if you put a big support going across, you will see that this could be the making of a neckline, of a head and shoulders top pattern on a macro basis. The question is, it takes a lot of power to trigger below, and usually you get a bounce off it. So that's why some are waiting for it to get here, as a lot of other sectors are already below the 2015 lows, but as of right now, it hasn't. So I guess we're trying to see whether or not it's tradable here, which a lot of us have been doing, okay, or not. So if you want to look on a very micro basis, here is the short-term area of the chart. Okay, you had on Monday, you had a pivot low right there, okay, which is a little red dog reversal. If you want to write down 1901, and then yesterday we had a higher low that actually took out the prior day's high and closed okay. So today the futures are up a little bit. So I guess the question is, can we get above this, which is 1947, kind of like we did yesterday, and get a push? And if so, here would be your next spot. This was Friday's high. Friday's high was 1960, and then you have the 8-day curling down, okay, a little bit higher around 1967. So I still think that into this, is doable, okay, even just to work off the oversold oscillator, which is like minus 60 now. It was as high as minus 80. And then I do think that you're going to get a wall, a big-time wall of resistance back where it broke down from here if you can get up to there. So anywhere between, I think, 1970-ish and 2000, if we see it, is a spot that guys are going to, get out of trapped longs or maybe look to get short. So this would be, to say the easier bounce into, resistance 1, and then this would be the zone that people probably come out and try and reshort. So, in order to get to those higher prices, we probably need to see some type of bounce, in oil, in the Russell and some of the banks. So let's go to the XLE first. Oil did hit 30 yesterday and bounced off it at first glance, and it's up this morning. So I guess, we'll see if this little pivot here sticks and you can get a little bit of a move, not saying much, back towards here, or maybe even towards here. So this zone, okay, it's been below the 21-day, all the way back from, the fall. So at this point, this is resistance that keeps getting contained. But, we do sometimes see a bounce back to there, and that's something that traders are looking to find. This sector's been battered and bruised. Many people probably are not even long it. No traders would be. Maybe some funds are caught because, again, look where the 200-day is. This has been below the 200-day for such a long time that it's not even investable. And every time that it's tried to rally, there's been ways out of it. Remember the last time this was your support, before breaking down, and then this is that last threshold. So the question is, can we play a bounce as an active trader looking for cash flow, because that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. So maybe there is, okay? There's a 1030 inventory number. So I think that's going to dictate the trade. Maybe the inventories are high, and then it bounces and shows that it's priced in, because sometimes the number will be very bearish for oil, but it's low enough where it bounces and it squeezes shorts, or maybe there's less inventories, which I don't think could happen, but maybe, and then you get that bounce, and if you get that bounce in oil, I know now it's like 31 pre-market towards 32-ish or 32.60 where there's big resistance. The XLE should bounce. The spiders will probably get the algos kicked in. We'll probably trade over. And if you look at the spiders, this small little high here, which is 194.55, and then again, I'm not expecting much, but for cash flow, a trade back to 196, 196.44, could make you some money. And then I think again, the wall of resistance is going to come right around here, where everyone wants to, if it sees it at some point, would want to sell it, and that's a big if. So the Russell's been a problem. It too, it has been absolutely annihilated. The sector loves to trade with ascending, channel breaks. This was one up to here, and then you had a recent one up to here, and then you had a smaller bear flag here, and then this already has taken out the 2015 lows. But it is stretched, so you would think perhaps there's a trade there. I've tried to get a trade there the past 2 days, but hasn't worked for me. It's well below every moving average. It's very broken. Here's your double bottom pivot. Question is, can it trade above this to maybe get towards that? I don't know. There's some news out there that CYBR might be in talks with Checkpoint Software. So maybe some small caps that that talk about if these things get cheap enough, do they get bought? At this point it's up like $4. I don't think I would buy it, but maybe that causes a little bit of a squeeze in the other small caps because they've been absolutely annihilated like FEYE. Another just a lesson here, guys. This was a great stock when it was above the 8 and the 21-day moving average, which it was here and then here. And once it breaks it, especially with a pennant type pattern, you get out of Dodge. That was right there. You could have got out of this stock around 48. And then you could have also got out of it here. Look, it broke below the 200-day. Momentum names you get out at the 8 and 21-day. When these things break the 200-day, you better get out of Dodge fast. And then all the way down to here. And it's just broken this recent support. So maybe there's some kind of short covering. If CYBR does get bought out, maybe some people will think maybe Checkpoint. But I don't know. Maybe FEYE. So anyway, that's that. I didn't even want to get into those stocks, but just wanted to show you how, again, you can't get in trouble, long, or you can if there's a big gap down. But, these momentum names are only good when you have a lot of shorts in them, the growth is there, and it's above the 8 and 21-day in strong trends. Once they break those trends, it all changes. You get out of the way. Some guys get short and they get fully paid. Some guys just say, okay, I'm done playing this one. I'm looking for the next type of momentum long, and there's been not a lot of them out there. So I guess, talking about momentum longs, let's look at some of the FANG stocks that are not momentum longs now, but more of a two-way trade. And you had the trade in the hole on Monday, and now we're just trying to figure out how much of the bounce you could stay with, and then maybe even get short again. Amazon, they all look a lot. They all look this, primarily the same. Each day they keep taking turns. But here was your breakout failure in Amazon, and then here was your small red dog reversal here. Yesterday, it opened up and just did nothing. So we'll see if that's the same today. If it were to get above this, perhaps there's a trade back to the 21-day. Right now, a lot of these they're just touching their 8-day. So the question is, can they push above this and test the 21-day, or are they that weak? So I would write down yesterday's high for Amazon. It's 626. And then, I guess at some point, if the rally did want to get up to 1970-ish or something like that in the coming weeks, you would probably see this get closer to that spot. And that's kind of like my thoughts, like which 3 levels can we get up to, and where would some of these stocks be accordingly. Google was a little stronger than Amazon yesterday. They've been following similar patterns where you had your breakout failure right here. Here's your red dog reversal in the hole. Gave you a better move yesterday. Now you're coming into the 8-day. So can these things take out their 8-day and make it to the 21-day? That's the game we're playing right now, and sometimes it's a dangerous one. So at this point, yesterday's high is 748, maybe tries to get back up towards there. If it pushes through, comes back below, some people might even short into there. That's your little 3-day bounce, and that's what we're playing these days. Netflix opened up yesterday and didn't do much. But still, out of most of these things, at least as long as it holds this 111, I think that this day, or this engulfing day, still is intact. Some would probably like to see it hold even higher, hold this 115, and if it does, maybe I guess is a better trade above this 117.70-ish area, but it's going to need a heck of a lot of volume. It might need news, I'm not sure. Overall, these momentum names, they're all still above the 200-day and the 150-day, and they continue to look better than obviously all those other sectors that are below the 200-day. So that's why there's still a focus. So we'll see what happens here into that spot. Moving along, let's talk about Apple. Apple, put in a small pivot recently down here. There's some talk that they might be wanting to take over Time Warner. I don't know. I wouldn't like that deal, to be honest. You did get a small bounce back towards 170-ish. I guess there's some room if the market wants to go a little bit more towards the bottom of this candle, which is like 102. And then if the market really rallies, over the next week, I think that, this will be a spot that people might try and re-short it. So here's your little tradable bounce into perhaps earnings. How it trades though intraday is kind of tough. It showed a little relative strength, even though these have red bars, just because it's opened higher than where it's closed, and that's hard to trade. So anyway, see what happens today. See if it could get above, I guess, yesterday's high. If it can get above 169, maybe there's some room towards 102. This stock has been obviously broken, and people have been trying to be cautious on it ever since it broke this ascending channel and lost a 200-day a little closer to 115. So here's your perhaps tradable move, which hasn't been the easiest either. Microsoft is trying to hold its gap. So if you want to look at Microsoft, I know Sperling likes to play that one. I still think it's wishy-washy. It's holding the gap here. Above this little bottom pivot, I guess, is a trade back towards this, or the 8-day. A lot of these things are getting contained at the 8-day, and 21 days are going to be friggin' walls of resistance. But again, that's the market we're in. In social, Facebook acting better than most, still above the 200-day, the 50-day. I've been trying to trade this one. Came in along it yesterday, didn't go back into it, unfortunately. But now, look, here it is. Can something trade above the 8-day? And that 8-day is, where is that price? Anyway, I guess it's close to like 100.33. If it gets above this, maybe it'll show that some other FANG stocks could do it. And then, the wall of resistance comes in closer to the 21-day, which is really closer to 102. I think if this thing gets to 102, you're going to see a lot of people, or 101.5 to 102, trying to get short this thing. And those who played it for a buyable bounce, you're getting a little, it's going to be a little testy from here to here. This was like the easy part, and now you'll see whether or not you can get another $1 or $2. Those of you that look at the TLTs, they shook the tree on Monday, only to have a stronger session yesterday. I'm not sure exactly what this is telling us with the market. This, a breakout in the TLTs is going against what the Fed thinks they're going to be doing, raising rates 3-4 times. So the market's maybe saying no. And if this, continues to go, maybe you get a tradable breakout. I know it's probably off a little bit today. So if you're in that camp, this is very, very tight. Okay, and it's above the moving averages. This is above the moving averages. So technically, the TLTs are acting well and could get a move, and it probably gets a big move if, the S&P and the markets turn back lower. We shall see. As far as the metals are concerned, the metals have pulled in also with the market. You got a little tradable move in the GLDs, to start the year when it cleared this spot, and now it's right back into it. So, if you sold some strength, maybe into this 103.50 if you're trading the metals, this is it's down 70 cents, your buyable spot. If they sell the market down with oil, at 1030, you probably could buy this to go green. If the market gets a little bit more power, probably doesn't get much traction. But anyway, this is again, if you're in here and you added and you sold into strength, this is probably your spot to look to maybe buy back. And all in all, that's about it. It's Wednesday. Oscillators were like minus 85 when we were near 1900. Now we're back towards 1940, 1945. We're down to probably only minus 50, which is still oversold, but not as drastic as we were. People are starting to talk about the oversold bounce now. I think it's probably more than half over. Again, I think we could see 1960 if oil doesn't fall apart in the next session or so. And then I think that the wall of resistance is going to happen between like 1970 and 2000 if we get there, if they treat the bank earnings kind of well or whatnot starting Thursday morning. Let's just take a quick look at JP Morgan before I leave you. It's back down to 2015 lows, almost below it besides, the flash crash day. And I guess if it's in line, chances are you might be able to get a bounce back towards its 8-day, considering where it was, in December, almost looking like it was ready to break out before this big gap and go hole to the downside below the 200-day. If they're bad and, you start to see this level break here in JP Morgan, chances are the banks will become a bigger headwind than they are right now, which is just laggards. Tune into the VTF. I think a lot of you guys from Twitter signed up for my note. I have a note that goes out every day that comes to your mailbox by 8:30. I said I'd give you guys a free month if you want to try it out. That was on Saturday, Sunday. I think that they all go out today. So if you're watching this, you'll probably get the note at 8:30, 8:35. It gives you the blueprint of what I'm looking at, levels. Everything I basically went over here is on a piece of paper. So if you're that kind of guy and you want to print it out and have it in front of you, I would recommend that. And then, I do have that private Twitter feed that comes with RA where I just could see your question better, and I tend to answer all the questions. And every now and then, if I have the time, when I put something on that's more than just a trade, I talk about it there, and we're trying to do more things with that. So anyway, have a good day trading, and we'll see you at today's recap. Hasta la vista.